We had a hell of a weekend in Serie A and the Bundesliga, and the titles are all but wrapped up, and it's not even March yet.
We have another change of the top spot in Spain and in England. What's more fun? The race for top 4, bottom 3. All this and more on this episode 118 of the No Business Soccer Podcast. Snooze, kick us off.
Let's dig in. Welcome back to the No Business Soccer Podcast. I'm your host, Snooze, and Hype Man Vic. The answer to that question is the top of the table. The bottom of the table is not fun at all. We got a full house today, almost anyway. Brainiac J Fan, like we mentioned, he's out there trying to learn how to be a dad. No big deal. He'll figure it out. He'll be great at it. But for now, we have Danny P on the ones and twos and everybody's favorite Hype Man. Hype Man Vic, what you sipping on, dog?
Well, today I wanted to stay a little bit closer to home with the bourbon scene. And this, even though it's in a weird bottle, is still Austin's Cask Strength bourbon. They had a day, I think I might have brought this up in like episode 30, I think. But they had a day where if you brought in a Kentucky bottle, so this was an old granddad bottle, they would fill it with Austin, with our Texas whiskey for free. So I took this over there and they filled it with still Austin Cask Strength. But we had to like...
They slapped their label on it?
Yeah, we needed to due to like legal reasons. Like we couldn't put alcohol in a different thing. So they slapped on all their labels and stuff. And it's actually good. It's actually like more like stewed peaches. I always get peaches on this one right here.
Oh,
it's super good. Silky mouthfeel. Absolutely great in the mouth. Snooze, you would love it. You love stuff like that. So while I take a sip of this, go ahead and like and subscribe the video or wherever you're listening to. It's the best way to help out the channel and say, hey, maybe these guys are pretty cool to talk to every once in a while. So cheers.
That was very solid. There's a reason that they call my boy the Peach King over there. And, enjoying that. By the way, my wife, someone at work brought her a bottle of mezcal. And it was apparently one that they don't sell it in the States. They don't import it from their region in Mexico. I think Oaxaca. So yeah, we'll have to try it. We'll have to, sip on it.
Tell her to send me a picture of that right now. Well,
she's asleep with the baby.
I want to see.
But I'll take a picture of it for you. But they said that it's super smoky. And for some reason, like mezcal, I mean, we had this conversation so many times. I love the smokiness of mezcal because it doesn't taste like plastic. So okay, well, today is a European, well, we'll call it wrap around, but some people like to call it the reach around. And we have Serie A, we have Bundesliga, we have La Liga, and of course we have the Prem. We're going to cover all of that, and then we'll talk about some stuff closer to home. We'll talk about stuff that's happening across the continent midweek. And yeah, a lot more to discuss. Some cool stories. Usually news and notes a little light. We got some cool ones this week. So without further ado, we're not going to move on to Europe yet because we had a game here, Vic. So let's go boots on the ground, Austin, Texas, for the Austin FC Minute.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Austin had their home opener this past Saturday. I'm already wrong. And we had all 3 new faces taking the pitch. And I got to say, Snooze, we looked pretty good. We had some pretty good chemistry. It was fun to watch. And I think we're just still playing a game that's based off possession and playing out of the back. When we have all this firepower up front, I think we need to tweak something. But, I'm not a coach there yet. Maybe I'll get there with it. We drew, by the way, 2-2 with Minnesota. Minnesota scoring late in the first and second halves. We just couldn't close it out. But I gotta say, really hyped for this season. And just a couple notes on the lineups here. Mikel Dessler was also out with Owen Wolf and Brandon Vasquez due to injury. He probably will be back next week. But Guilherme Biru and Besard Sabovic were healthy scratches in this game because the last preseason game, they got red cards. So they got left off the roster because of a red card in a preseason game, which is not a thing. But anyway.
That's why? Okay. I have a story about that. So I'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, that's basically it. I mean, this is just an Austin F's meme. That's it. We have another game next Sunday. It's going to be a Sunday afternoon game. It's going to be pretty nice, and I will talk about it more whenever we go to the European look ahead coming this Friday.
Okay. Well, that was a good game, and one of the, I don't remember who it was. I think it was JFam. He was asking in our group text, like, how's the game going? Obviously, he's at home with the baby. And the one thing I remember sending back was like, Facundo Torres is the real deal. Like, the dude just looks like he's got qualities that not a lot of other players on our team have. The balls he's put in the box, everything just had this bend on it. It was very nice to see because, we don't have Driussi anymore. And he was the way that we were creating stuff. So, looking forward to that. But the story about Bidu, our season ticket rep, Miss Anna Vasquez, shout out. She hooked it up with some like passes to go through VIP and be not on the field for the warm-ups, but like right there where they were coming in and out and practicing for warm-ups. We got the pregame in the VIP. Nice. This by the way, this wasn't Vic. He wasn't there. Just to make sure that people know. Okay, hype man Vic, he wasn't with me, but it was really cool.
Was I not allowed to go? Did you even ask?
Well, I have 4 seats, and as you know, I have a seat neighbor, as I call them. I split the seats with someone in. So I was like, if you don't answer though, my boys come. I'm gonna go get my boys. But it was
I didn't even think about asking. You're good. Anyway,
I was going to offer if he didn't, but he did. So awkward. Anyway,
awesome. No, it's awesome.
The point I was going to make is as we were going down to the VIP area, Bidu and his wife were walking by with one of his kids, maybe his only kid, I don't know, and I was like, hey, I guess he's not playing today. Like, why he's like walking by right now, but had no idea why. I thought he was injured or something. So,
that is why.
Funny. That is why. That isn't what. What are we doing? A red card in a preseason? Like play nice. I don't know. Anyway, okay, cool stuff. Thanks for sticking around. Let's jump in to the main part of the show. We got a lot to cover in this European reach around. Let's go to Italy.
Let's do it to Serie A.
Now, I know I mentioned News and Notes was cool this week for a couple of the spots. Interesting more than cool because this one is not cool, but it is interesting. AC Milan and England midfielder Ruben Loftus-Cheek will undergo surgery after fracturing his teeth and jaw. Loftus-Cheek suffered the injury following a collision with Parma goalkeeper Eduardo Corvi in the 11th minute as the pair contested an aerial ball. A number of Parma players immediately gestured for play to be stopped, and Loftus-Cheek and Corvi to receive medical attention. And Loftus-Cheek was taken off with a stretcher, and he had his head in a brace. He was all bloody, craziness, and they confirmed later on that he did fracture his upper teeth and part of his jaw, which I don't know how you fracture part of your upper, but yeah, he fractured part of his upper teeth and part of the jaw as well that contains the tooth sockets. So they jacked each other up. It says expected turnaround time is 8 weeks, but like, what? That is crazy. You tell me 2 months? Like, no way. Surprisingly, though, they said he did not suffer a concussion. So that's okay. Crazy enough. That was the biggest news notes from around Serie A, Vic. So let's jump in.
Let's do it. And of course, we'll start with your top matches, your No Business Soccer podcast, top matches and headlines for Serie A Matchday 26. And your first match is Como joining the ranks of European competition considerations as they hand Juve the third straight without a win 2-0.
Como do the double over Juve after beating them 2-0 at home back in October. This is exactly the type of performance against a big club that we've been asking for from Como for a long time. They played smart by essentially taking Yildiz out of the game and forcing the other Juve attacking pieces to beat them, and they just could not do it. Como's first goal came in the 11th minute, and it was a little fortunate as it took a deflection on its way past Di Gregorio's near post, but there was no doubt about their second goal that came at the end of a perfect counterattack. Yildiz and Koopmeiners were really the only threats coming from the home side, and once Spalletti knew his side were not coming back in this game, you could just feel it. You just knew that they weren't going to. that Como were the better team on that day, and he admitted defeat. He pulled them out, or he pulled Yildiz out anyway, and presumably he was keeping them fresh as he can because there is the Champions League tie with Galatasaray coming up midweek. And all this to say, or all this, and I haven't even mentioned that Nico Paz was their star boy. If you don't know, Como's main boy, his main attacking. He's a man. Why am I saying boy? Either way, he's their main star, and he was out for yellow card accumulation. And I mean, it was just really, really cool to see for Como, because usually if it's not coming from Paz, they struggle a bit. He wasn't here. They took down one of the biggest teams, and good on them. Because also, sorry, a little itch on my neck. The kits from Juve. I don't know if anybody saw the highlights from this. I can't tell if I love them or hate them, because they look like Hamburglar. Like they're kind of hoops, they call them in England, but they're striped white and black. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know. There were some worse ones. We'll talk about them.
Yeah, they do look like Hamburglar. I think that is throwbacks. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't see them, so I was taking a look at them. And your second match has Atalanta taking out the number 3's Napoli 2-1.
Atalanta get a hard-fought win in Bergamo, and you can see now that they're fully turning their season around. Napoli scored from a free kick early in the 18th minute and took the lead in the second half before Mario Pasalic scored from a corner for the home team, and it looked like we were headed for a draw until Lazar the Laser Samardzic headed home the winning goal in the 81st minute. All three goals were headers, and overall wasn't really a fun, free-flowing game of football, more tactical and defensive, but plenty of intensity came with that. And we've known for a while that Napoli weren't going to win back-to-back Scudettos, but with the loss, it also means that their Champions League status for next season is in question too. The ATLians have been playing themselves back into form in the league, and now it's 3 straight wins and 4 wins in the last 5 in Serie A. Good stuff from Atalanta.
And those are your top matches for Serie A match day 26. Let's get into the rest of the match day. And it started on Friday with more misery for the bottom of the table as newcomer Sassuolo get a one-sided 3-0 win against Verona.
Sassuolo has done more than enough at this point to prove that they belong in Serie A. And more than that, they look like a mid-table team in Serie A. In the last 5 games, they've won 4, and they had against lower table opponents is what I'm trying to say. And the loss that they had in those 5 games was to Inter. I mean, a lot of people are losing to Intervig. So yeah, it's going to happen. Either way, it's been a hell of a promotion season for this team. And Verona pick up their 15th loss of the season. Yikes. That is incredible. Sassuolo, though, coming in here and making a statement. Seems like they're going to be back. And hopefully they improve. They can get higher up the table.
We then moved to Saturday, and Saturday started with your No Business Soccer podcast top matchup. That was Juve and Como. We talked about that. So we move on to your number 1's Inter, continuing to run away with the league, especially as spots 2 and 3 took an L this week. They handle Lecce 2-0.
This one they did 2-0, but it's almost laughable how many chances Inter wasted. They also had a goal called off because of the top of DiMarco's shoulder, which was just stupid. But either way, it was a good road win and a clean sheet, but it could have easily been 3 or 4 more goals for Inter.
And Saturday ends with whatever the opposite of a bang is, as Cagliari and Lazio draw 0-0.
This was a fair result for both sides. Not much to discuss in a 0-0, so we'll move on, but just say disappointing for our Lazio.
We then move on to everyone's favorite Sunday, as Genoa prove they're the real number 14 in the league as they make light work of Torino 3-0.
Big battle for 14th here. Genoa put 3 past Torino, and I don't remember the last time that Genoa looked this dominant in a match. They were already 2-0 up in the first half before Torino had a man sent off with a straight red. Torino looked like they're going to be in the thick of the relegation scrap for the rest of the season, and it was good on Genoa.
Next on Sunday was your other No Business Soccer podcast top matchup. That was Atalanta and Napoli. We talked about that one. So we go to Parma, making it 3 straight dubs with an impressive 1-0 win against Milan and spoiling their new kit reveal.
Yeah, that's actually part of what I was going to say too, because I don't know what you thought about that, but yikes, they look like throwback 90s, like, or oversized 80s. I don't know. It was not, I do not like them. I did not like them.
I don't know. My favorite color is red, as you know. So I kind of like them. They're pretty nice. I wouldn't mind one of those.
Blue's your favorite color. Anyway, in the preview, we said that Parma were coming into this game in form, and they would not be pushovers, and they couldn't look past them being Milan. And they frustrated Milan at the San Siro all night, even though Milan dominated shots, possession, and everything else in between. As expected, Parma stayed in the game and got a late goal from a corner and snuck out of there with a win. It's now 3 wins in a row for Parma and basically calls the race on the Scudetto to win with this win, as well as Inter are now 10 points clear of Milan in second place. So Parma making a big statement in Serie A.
And Sunday ended with a one-sided bang as Roma take it to Cremonese with a 3-0 win.
It was a better second half than the first for Roma, and they end up scoring 3 unanswered and blanking Cremonese, who are now very close to going down. And all the fun we were having with Vardy, it is now not fun. I don't know. I was hoping something else would come to me, but it's just they're not good right now. It's kind of sad.
Tough times. We then move on to your Monday night football doubleheader. And your first match is our boys in purple, Fiorentina, getting out of the relegation zone with a 1-0 win against Pisa, and that's 3 straight without a loss.
Fiorentina needed a win, and they got it, and it was the perfect time to do so because Lecce and Cremonese lost, which means they shoot up to 16th, and they are out of the relegation zone.
And then match day 26 ended with Udinese getting 3 straight losses as they fall to Bologna 1-0.
I thought I was going to cough. There's games where a team didn't deserve to lose. Well, this one was neither team deserving to win. Just pretty bad and sloppy play all around, but a penalty in the 75th minute to Bologna was the difference. And it kind of all summed up this game when you see there was a shot that Orsolini had. The ball fell to him perfectly, and he was unmarked, and it bounces, and he whiffs. I mean, it looks so... dumb is the best way I can put it. Not that he was dumb or anything like that. It's just like, it just looked dumb. It was like, God damn, you get paid a lot of money to do this. And he whiffed. And that's kind of how this game went.
And those are your matches for Serie A match day 26. Let's go ahead and take a look at the new table. Not much new on top. You still have Inter on top with 64 points. Starting to run away with it now. They are 10 points clear of the number 2s, which are AC Milan, the other Milan, with 54 points. Napoli are still your number 3 spot despite the loss. They have 50 points. They are tied with Roma now with 50 points as well. Roma rounding out our top 4. And then tickling our top 4 is still Juve with 46 points. And they're on a 3-game no-win streak draw. Yeah, doing bad. So, yeah, they need to pick it up and get into those Champions League spots. And if we look at the bottom of the table, you'll see not Fiorentina, you'll see Lecce. They're in the number 18 spot with 24 points. And they are followed only by, of course, Pisa and Hellas Verona, who have 15 points apiece. I don't even have to say like 19 or 20. You just know they're down there. So I'm just going
to doesn't matter.
Calling them together. Yeah, and they're both doing, they have the exact same run of form. Look at that. Draw, loss, loss, draw, loss, loss. They are
not trying to get out of there.
No. Sorry, guys. Sorry, all the Pisa and Verona listeners.
Well, it sucks now that the title race is pretty much over. But we have a lot to look forward to with the other positions. I mean, top 4 is still pretty close. Mm-hmm. We have, 18, 17, 18 to 14, pretty much still in the relegation race. So, still some matches to be, or some placements to be decided, I guess we should say. So, okay.
Yeah.
Anything else in Italy, sir?
No, just glad our boys in purple got out of there.
I know. Great timing, too.
2
wins in a row. Look at that. Let's go.
I should have wore their kit.
I know. Instead, you have Rangers.
Rangers.
All right. Let's do it then. Let's move on to Germany.
Let's do it. To Bundesliga.
So biggest news and notes coming out of the Bundesliga had to be Vincent Kompany's monologue, if you will, condemning the racism, the alleged racism that happened in the Champions League match between Benfica and Real Madrid. Essentially, he breaks it down and discusses why what happened and how Benfica and Jose Mourinho and everyone handled it was wrong. And not to say that he called them out and say that it was for sure happening, but just if you haven't heard it, go listen to it. The way he breaks down is very elegant, and it's very cool to see a coach that has nothing to do with that league take a stand. Obviously, Vincent Kompany is a black man, so he has skin in the game, is not probably the best term in this instance, but you get my point. He knows what's up, and he's discussing it in a very professional and an elegant way where it makes it understood. He's not taking shots at Jose per se. I mean, he is kind of, but the way that he puts it is really good. So go take a listen after Bayern's game. Who did they play? Eintracht Frankfurt is who it was. And it might have even been before that. It might have been this past one. But either way, that was the headlines. What was plastered all over the headlines in the Bundesliga. So with that, Vic, I think it's time to jump into the match day.
Let's do it. And of course, we are starting with your No Business Soccer podcast. Top matches and headlines for Bundesliga match day 23. And your first match was Dortmund somehow squeaking out with points as in this one as they draw with RB Leipzig 2-2.
Leipzig almost pulled off the upset at home as they were up 2-0 at the break, and Jan Diamande played a hell of a first half. His creativity helped set up both goals, and it looked like they were finally going to get the performance we've been looking for from them. But in the second half, Dortmund got one back early from an own goal. And then just when you thought it was all over, deep into stoppage time, Fabio Silva gets his first Bundesliga goal after making the move from Wolves, and he makes it count. It really showed Dortmund's fight this year, and it's all smiles for Dortmund and everything until you realize that you look across the room and Bayern won their game, and essentially the title race is over because it's back up to 8 points, and Bayern probably aren't going to drop that many points. So even though it was a great comeback, a great game to see them get this draw, it just title's over in 2 leagues now, and that's not fun. So,
and your second match was Mainz and Hamburg drawing 1-1, and that makes 6 straight unbeaten for Hamburg.
We had a great start to the weekend in the Bundesliga as Mainz and Hamburg fought out to a 1-1 draw. Mainz opened the scoring in the 42nd minute with a great goal from a corner from Amiri. But after the break in the 64th minute, Fabio Vieira had a deflected free kick trickle in past the keeper to equalize for Hamburg. And from there, it was a little more nervy on both sides as they tried not to let the points slip. The point was a good result for Mainz as they continue to stay above water, but St. Pauli getting a win muddies that water a whole hell of a lot. We'll talk about that relegation scrap more when we get to their game.
And those are your No Business Soccer podcast top matches and headlines for Bundesliga match day 23. Let's go ahead and get into the rest of the match day. And it started on Friday with your No Business Soccer podcast top match. That was Mainz and Hamburg. We already talked about that. So we move on to your first match, our Augsburg. I put those backwards. Augsburg winning this round of Battle of the Bergs with a 3-2 win against Wolfsburg.
Augsburg just can't be stopped at the moment. They were down 2-1 going into the 87th minute before a penalty was given for a handball. They score that, and then in stoppage time, Elvis Rexbajai hits the winner. You got to feel for Wolfsburg, though, as they played a hell of a game and probably deserved a point from this one. But Augsburg, they are just too good at the moment.
And Saturday continued with Union Berlin able to finally get a dub on the sheets as they end Leverkusen's streak of 4 straight without a loss, 1-0.
Union Berlin used their home field advantage to take down Leverkusen, and they just out-muscled Leverkusen for the win. Just take a look at the goal they had. Union just wanted it more, and even so, the ball came to an unmarked Patrick Schick for Leverkusen in the box in stoppage time to level it, and he heads the ball over the bar. And this is the exact scenario you want the ball to fall, and you want it to fall to that guy at that time, and he misses it. And that's just summed up Leverkusen's day.
Next up, we had the champs taking care of business as Bayern beat Eintracht Frankfurt 3-2.
The scoreline looks a little better than what actually happened. Bayern were up 2-0 in the first 20 minutes and should have had more. Kane ends up getting his second goal in the 67th minute, and then he gives a penalty away in the 7th. And yes, Kane gave it away. He was defending for some weird reason in the box. And then some sloppy play from the back led to the cheap second goal in the 86th minute for Eintracht Frankfurt. It never really felt like Bayern were actually going to lose this game, but the fact that it ends 2-3, it makes it look a lot closer than it really was.
Our next match was our cute little mascot Cologne getting a 2-2 draw with the Can It Be number 3's Hoffenheim.
This was just a damn good game for the Mutual. It was fast-paced, free-flowing. There was the goal of the season. I'm calling it now for Cologne's first. I mean, it had everything except a winner, which is fine because I think they both deserve to leave with something from this game. But their first goal was probably one of the prettiest bicycle kicks you'll see all season. Go check it out.
Next up was your No Business Soccer Podcast top matchup. That was a Leipzig and Dortmund. We already talked about that. So we move on to Sunday, as the Battle of the Black Shields goes the way of Freiburg as they get a 2-1 win against Borussia Mönchengladbach.
The Black Forest boys do their thing and get the win over Gladbach. And even though it was only a 1-goal difference, Freiburg were never really in doubt for getting this win. Gladbach's goal came in the 85th minute when they were already 2-0 down, and it's Freiburg who take home 3 points.
And then Sunday continued with St. Pauli making it 2 wins out of the last 3 with a 2-1 win against Werder Bremen, thus sending Bremen to the relegation.
And this is what I was talking about, I alluded to earlier. St. Pauli caused quite the stir with winning this 6-pointer. Not only did they drop Werder down to the relegation spots, as Vic just mentioned, but they also caught up to Wolfsburg in 15th and are now only 2 points from Gladbach and Mainz all the way up to 13th. So I think most of the teams at the bottom probably just figured they had it penciled in that St. Pauli were going to go down. So they were all fighting for that relegation playoff spot. But now that St. Pauli get this win over Werder Bremen, it means that there's 5 teams fighting for 2 spots to be relegated at the end of the season, or, the relegation playoff. Either way, great stuff from St. Pauli. They're just going to make for a hell of an end to the season.
And match day 23 ended with a banger as Heidenheim and Stuttgart fight to a 3-3 draw.
This was probably the most controversial game of the night, or of the weekend, really, in the Bundesliga, with Stuttgart having 2 questionable goals called off, and one was absolutely insane. It was Double H's second goal when the score was 1-1, and a Heidenheim player goes down in the box, and it was a foul, but the ref kind of allowed play to play. He waved it off, essentially. He thought it was not that bad, like it is what it is. And the play continues. Stuttgart drive down the pitch. They're playing around for a bit, and they end up scoring. And it goes 2-1 to Stuttgart. But then, as soon as the goal goes in, VAR intervenes. They check it. They go back. I mean, it had to have been, it felt like 2 to 3 minutes. I don't know if it was actually that long, but they go all the way back to when the Heidenheim player was fouled in the box. They say that it was enough to give the penalty. So not only do they chalk off the goal that went to Stuttgart, but they gave Heidenheim a penalty, and it swings all the momentum. So it's 2-1 Heidenheim going into the rest of the game. And then, man, it was just madness from there. There was goals being called off or offside. Stuttgart looked like the better team, and they were the better team. It just was not their night, and, man, you leave feeling disappointed from this one. 3-3, it was a hell of a game for the Mutual, but it really should have been VfB with 3 points.
And those are your matches for Bundesliga match day 23. Let's go ahead and take a look at the table to see where we stand now. Of course, standing up top is Bayern Munich. I almost said Bundesliga. Bayern Munich, they have 60 points. They are 8 points clear of Borussia Dortmund, or the best of the rest, as I call them, with 52 points in the number 2 spot. And then it's followed by the Can It Be number 3 is Hoffenheim with 46 points, another 6 points behind the number 2s. And then rounding out our top 4 is Stuttgart by FB Stuttgart with 43 points. And then tickling our top 4 is RB Leipzig with 41 points, trying to get into those Champions League spots. Then we take a look at the bottom of the table. You'll see St. Pauli is in that playoff relegation playoff game. I should have said it the other way. They have 20 points. They're followed by Werder Bremen with 19 points in the 17th spot. And then Heidenheim, still a solid foundation for a Bundesliga table in the 18th spot with 14 points. And like you said, Snooze, there are 5 teams down there all trying to get out of that relegation zone. The relegation playoff spot anyway. It's 5 points between Mainz, Borussia Mönchengladbach, Wolfsburg, St. Pauli, and Werder Bremen. Just like you said, it's actually 3 points between those. Oh my God. And then 5 points to Köln. Yeah, that's crazy. There's 6 teams.
I mean, dang, all the way till Hamburg at, 6 points. That's 2 games. All the way to 11th. That's crazy.
Yeah. So makes for some fun watching for the Mutual. Anyway,
I know. Yeah. And it helps you watch some of the games that aren't just, the top, like Bayern and Dortmund and whatever, because there's a lot of games on the line, a lot of placement on the line, I guess. And good stuff in the Bundesliga this weekend. A lot of great goals, a lot of fun games there. But we have more to talk about. So let's go to Spain.
Let's do it to La Liga.
And the news and notes from around La Liga, Matchday 25, I believe it was. After a slightly controversial penalty late in the Athletic Club and Elche game, the game ended and tensions were high. Even the commentators were saying as the incident went to VAR that there is no way that the ref can give this a penalty, and yet he did. And it turned the tide of the game, and after the match when the managers went to shake hands, Eder Sarabia, Elche's manager, and interestingly enough, the son of Manu Sarabia, who was an Athletic Club legend, and then Athletic Club's manager currently, Ernesto Valverde, were getting a little animated, let's say, with Sarabia didn't let go of the handshake, and he started getting in Valverde's face and complaining and pointing to his chest. And it was just like, you could tell that they were getting a little annoyed with, it was annoyance for one way. Sarabia was definitely the aggressor, and he was just trying to explain, like, I'm shaking your hand because I have to, but that was bullshit. And Valverde was just trying to play it off or whatever, and it just kept getting a little bit more escalated. Luckily, Valverde calmed the situation down. He walked away, and everything was good. But it was just it seemed like, I don't remember if you remember this, but there was a handshake in the first game back when Antonio Conte was with Spurs, and we played Chelsea, and it was Thomas Tuchel and Conte. They shook hands, and like Conte just didn't look at him, and Tuchel didn't let go of his hand. I don't know if you remember this, but either way, Conte like turns around and is like, hey, and they just start getting into it. Like, you see this all the time with managers in the Prem, just because they hire some of the higher profile guys. They got egos and all that. You don't really see that in La Liga too much. So it was interesting to see. It was definitely one of the highlights. But at the end of it all, it was just emotions. The coaches came out in the post-match press conference, said they're all good. It was just a misunderstanding from his part. Well, not really misunderstanding, but he was just a high energy guy who was like, yeah, I messed up, essentially. Like, we can go hang out after this. It's not a big deal. So, but that was your news and notes for La Liga from this weekend. Vic, let's jump into the rest of the match day.
Let's do it. We'll start with your No Business Soccer podcast, top matches and headlines for La Liga Matchday 25. And your first match was Atleti getting back to their winning ways as they add to Espanyol's misery with a 4-2 win.
And I'm not really sure what got into Atleti, but the Metropolitano was packed and it was rocking, Victor. We got to go check this out. Well, I just called you by your full name. That was weird. I don't remember the last time I called you, Victor. That was what? Anyway, players are walking out. Yeah, I know. The players are walking out, and there's an arch, and you could just see it. It was like a picture-perfect European soccer moment. That stadium was going crazy, and they came to play. It started a little rocky when Espanyol had a deflected, kind of fluky goal within the first 6 minutes. But by halftime, Sorloth and Simeone had scored to take the lead for Atleti into the break. And after the break, it was more Atleti scoring, with Sorloth getting his brace and Ademola Lookman continuing to shine for Atleti as he chips in with a goal as well. Espanyol do get a nice goal in the 89th minute, but it was too little, too late as they get dominated and lose their fifth match in their last 6 in La Liga. I like the approach from Atleti here because they rested their starters against Rayo last weekend in preparation for the Champions League game with Brugge, and they got destroyed by Rayo. And then they didn't look good defensively against Brugge and end up drawing 3-3. But this time, they come out and put it to Espanyol. No injuries. And yes, they trade out well-rested players, but hopefully they can come back with some confidence and get that win over Brugge. And it all shows that maybe you shouldn't be dropping points whenever you're playing in your domestic leagues.
And your second match had Osasuna telling La Liga they're no flash in the pan with a 2-1 win against Real Madrid, sending Los Blancos back to second place.
Yeah, this was a cool one to watch. During the walkouts, the commentator said that Osasuna hadn't beaten Real Madrid home or away since 2011. And it set the stage perfectly for how the game went down. Even though Real Madrid dominated the possession with 81% of the ball, which is just out of this world. That's a weird thing. Just crazy. Osasuna still had the same amount of shots, though, which is only one less on target. So you can have the ball all you want, but if you're not doing anything with it, then what does it really matter? And that really tells you the kind of result that this is the kind of result that can happen if you have empty possession, we'll call it. It was just one of those days for Real Madrid where they couldn't catch a break. Mbappe goals were called off, which always happens. He's always offside. But either way, Ante Budimir scores a penalty late in the first half for Osasuna, and he now has 6 goals in his last 6 games. Our boy is killing it, Ante Budimir. Vinny Jr. does equalize for the visitors in the 73rd minute, and we all thought the same thing, that there was way too much time on the clock for Real Madrid to go get another goal, or maybe even 2, and kill the tie after being down the entire game, essentially. But instead, in the 90th minute, Raul bends a shot around Courtois and into the back of the net, and Osasuna stun Real Madrid at El Sadar and give the title back to Barca. We told you that even though it was first taking on 10th in the table, Osasuna were no joke, and they were in form, and they leave. Well, they take all 3 points from this game. I was going to say they leave with all 3 points, but they were at home, so they get 3 points in front of their fans. It was really cool to see. I mean, whenever you see a team beat Real Madrid, and that's not Barcelona or Atleti, I mean, even if they are those teams, of course they won them, but it just feels like the fans want it so much more against the big giants. And so, yeah, man, I wish I could be at one of those games. Like, I had FOMO seeing the crowd there.
Yeah, and Osasuna have been in incredible shape lately. I don't even know. I don't know. They're beaten at least for 6. But, yeah, been in incredible shape, and they just proved it why they are. But
maybe those are your time to get into Europe. We'll find out.
No, brother, not that far away. We will look in the table here in just a second. But those are your top matches and headlines for La Liga match day 20. I forgot 5. Let's go ahead and get back into the rest of the match day. And it started on Friday with Elche inching closer and closer to the relegation zone as they fall to Athletic Club 2-1.
You just feel bad for Elche at this point. They should have won and drawn a couple recently, but instead here they are with 4 losses in their last 5 and just a point above the relegation zone. This one really kicked off late in the game with Guruzeta putting Athletic Club in front in the 64th minute before Andre Silva's penalty leveled it 5 minutes later for Elche. And it was a back and forth finish to the game before a penalty was called in the 89th minute for Athletic Club. And that's the one that we talked about. And that's buried by Guruzeta, and he gets a brace. Athletic Club get the win, but not without some controversy.
We then move on to Saturday with a firefight as Real Sociedad and Oviedo get a 3-3 draw.
One of the best matches of the weekend. Real Oviedo went up 2-0 in the second half in the span of 2 minutes, only to give up 3 unanswered goals to La Real, and made me text everyone saying that Matarazzo is the best coach in the world. And then in stoppage time, Oviedo get a corner and they level the game and they stun the San Sebastian crowd. Either way, it's not a loss. It's a point apiece. And yeah, I mean, I think that Matarazzo's maybe his bounce is what's it called? The new manager bounce is over. But either way, the team still looks really good.
Speaking of a point apiece, next up was Real Betis and Rayo Vallecano getting a goal apiece, a point apiece with a 1-1 draw.
Betis dominated the first half and were up 1-0 before Rayo equalized against the run of play. And you just kind of felt like Betis would find the second and winning goal at some point, and it just never came. They had their chances, but they end up splitting the points.
And Saturday ended with both of your No Business Soccer podcast top matches. That was Osasuna and Real Madrid and Atleti and Espanyol. We already spoke about those. So we'll move on to Sunday, as Sevilla are able to end Getafe's unbeaten run of 4 straight with a 1-0 win.
Getafe had a man sent off in the 25th minute, and from that point on, it was all Sevilla. They only still managed to give up 1 goal, but credit to Sevilla for taking down a Getafe side at home who hadn't lost in a while.
And then Sunday continued with Barcelona taking advantage of Real Madrid losing. Madrid. It's hard to say for me.
There you
Especially
go.
after some whiskey. It gets
right?
a little bit harder. Yeah. Tongue gets a little bit heavier. Losing to reclaim the number 1 spot with a dominant 3-0 win against Levante.
Barca knew coming in that they would have a chance to take the top spot in the table with Real Madrid losing the day before. And really, all they needed to do was not beat themselves against the Levante squad, who were cellar dwellers. And they did not blink. They scored in the first 4 minutes through Bernal, then another in the first half from De Jong, and then the third goal to really put the tie to bed came in the 81st minute. And it was a long-range beauty. Vic, I think, calls them boner-inducing shots from outside the box from Fermin Lopez.
Nah, more like saves. I'm more of a defensive guy. It's all right. Next up, we had Celta Vigo making it 3 straight losses for Mallorca as they get the 2-0 win.
This game was close almost the entire match until Celta legend Iago Aspas was subbed on in the 70th minute. And from then on, he took over, scored a penalty in the 85th minute to take the lead, and then was a playmaker to create the chance that ended the game with him scoring in the 95th minute to put the tie to bed. What a showing from Iago Aspas, and what a win for Celta Vigo.
And Sunday ended with Villarreal squeaking out a 2-1 win against Valencia.
The Yellow Submarine take all 3 points at La Ceramica after going down a goal, and that's really all I can say about that because it wasn't a great game or a great performance by either side, but it does keep the positive momentum for Villarreal, who have now won back-to-back games and make it 3 wins in their last 4 in La Liga.
And Matchday 25 ends with Monday Night Football as Girona can't hold on to win and draw with Alaves 2-2.
We have an entertaining draw on a Monday afternoon, and it's what you want from a lower to mid-table matchup where you're not really sure which way it will go. This was fun, good goals, nothing to complain about.
And those are your matches for La Liga Matchday 25. Let's go ahead and take a look at the table. There it is. And again, you will see the new number ones are back at number 1. Anyway, Barcelona, they have 61 points. They're taking up the number 1 spot. They are followed by Real Madrid with 60 points now coming off of that loss. And then in the number 3 spot is Villarreal with 51 points, a clear 9 points behind the top 2. And then rounding out our top 4 is Atletico Madrid with 48 points. And then tickling our top 4 is Real Betis with 42 points, a clear 6 points behind Atletico Madrid in the number 4 spot. And then we take a look at the bottom of the table. You'll see Mallorca. They have 24 points there in the 18th spot. First team to be relegated if the season ended today. They are on 3 straight losses, only to be beaten by a team with 4 straight losses, Levante. They're in the 19th spot with 18 points. And then trying to climb out of it is Real Oviedo. They have a win and a draw in their last 3, but they are still holding up the rest of the table in the number 20 spot with 17 points. Not completely out of the realm of escaping for either of those 2 bottom teams, but also not very likely.
Well, these the standings are starting to shape up a little bit. I know, we still got that at least 1 spot. What is that? It's 3 points from 14 to 18, which isn't as bad. I mean, we've seen the other leagues. There are a little bit more teams that are in that stretch of points right there. But I remember we said we'll take a look at it in a month and see where it's at, and it is starting to take shape a little bit. Like we're starting to see a little bit of separation. I looked it up though while we were talking about the table there, and Osasuna. I mentioned a couple weeks ago, like maybe this is the year they can finally get into Europe, and I was like, I wonder how long it's been. I know we talked about it a while ago, but I can't remember. 06-07 season, the last time that they got into Europe, it was the Europa League at that point. So. We're talking 20 years ago. So I'm kind of on the bandwagon. Let's see them get into Europe next season. Let's do it. I mean, Athletic Club, they're kind of slumping this season. They might, they might end up doing it, but Espanyol definitely not. Celta Vigo, I mean, they could, but
Osasuna, they haven't been the most persuasive to thinking that they could, but who knows?
Let's go. Osasuna
on a heater right now.
We'll see how it goes. But I think I'm on the bandwagon. I think for the rest of the season, it's my pet team. Elche was everyone's earlier, but they're just that is not good.
You might have just doomed them there. You're saying your pet team.
Oh, Osasuna. We'll see. No. Who do they have?
The last time they lost was January 10th. So they're over a month of unbeaten. They play Valencia next, so they another win possibly. Valencia, then Mallorca, who are also down.
Look at that. 2 wins. I mean, come on. They should get 6 more points. Then what's after that? Let's see.
After that is the made of American Steel Real Sociedad.
Real Sociedad. So okay, 6 more points before they get a tough match. So okay, I mean, we'll see. Let's see if they can do it.
The Hemi-powered Real Sociedad.
Yes, the Hemi-powered. All right, let's move on. Our final league of the night to discuss. We're going to England.
Let's do it to the Prem.
All right. And I know that this is a Premier League discussion. This is a podcast about 4 specific leagues, but we also we touch subjects around Europe. And so this one just happens to be a story coming out of England, a lower tier of football than the Prem. But either way, very, very interesting. So the news and notes from around England, we'll call it. Sheffield Wednesday have become the first team in English Football League history to be relegated this early in a season. It's February, and the season does not end until May. They still have 13 more games to play, and they're already relegated. Not to mention that the team that beat them to confirm the poorest run in English football history was none other than their hated arch rivals, Sheffield United. Sheffield Wednesday were docked 18 points by the EFL for financial relegation breaches in the first half of the season after filing for administration, which in American means they filed for bankruptcy. And either way, they lost all these points, and then they sucked on top of it. And as it stands, they're bottom of the table in the championship after 33 games. They have 1 win, 8 draws, 24 losses, which leaves them with -7 points with the 18-point deduction. That is no bueno. That is amazing in the worst possible way. Sheffield Wednesday, just sad story. So they're going down for sure.
I thought you were talking about Sheffield United on Wednesday were relegated. I didn't know there was a Sheffield Wednesday actual team. Like that's the name.
Yes, Sheffield Wednesday is the team. Yes. Sheffield Wednesday.
About Sheffield United.
No, as a team in the championship. And I mean, they'll be in League 1 next season. So anyway, crazy stuff coming out of England. Let's do it. Let's jump into the match day. Unfortunately.
All right. Yeah, let's do it. We'll start with your No Business Soccer podcast. Top matches and headlines for Premier League Match Day 27. And your top match was Man City extending the league's longest current winning streak to 3 with a 2-1 win against Newcastle.
We talked about how this matchup is going to take place at least 5 times this season. And if they're all open and free-flowing like this one was, we will take it. City get the win in the end, and it felt like that was the right result. They were pretty dominant for spells of the game, and all the goals happened in the first half. But in the second half, it was kind of an unpep-like City actually sitting back and letting Newcastle have the ball in the City half, and we're hitting them on the counter. I mean, it's just not what you're used to seeing from a Pep Guardiola side. It was crazy to watch, and with the speed that City have, they were pretty successful doing all of the counter-attacking they were trying. They just weren't lucky enough to get the goals to go in. But I lost count of the amount of times the City attackers were running at the Newcastle defense with space. And I don't think it was a bad showing from Newcastle at all. I just think that City are starting to figure things out. I think they're starting to figure out that they're on another level for most of these teams. And the win also took City within 2 points of Arsenal for a brief period because we'll talk about what happened in a bit. But either way, City pretty what's the word I'm looking for? They were convincing in the win, but I didn't come away thinking that Newcastle were bad. Put it that way.
Good enough. And that is your top match for Premier League Match Day 27. We will go ahead and jump into the rest of the match day. It started on Saturday with Aston Villa and Leeds splitting the points with a 1-1 draw.
Leeds were so close to leaving Villa Park with all 3 points. They carried Anton Sachs's ridiculous free kick goal from the 31st minute all the way until the 88th minute when Tammy Abraham headed in the equalizer. Tough break for Leeds, but they're still 6 points clear of the drop.
Next up was Brighton getting a tough road win as they finally get back in the win column with a 2-0 win against Brentford.
Brighton get their first win in a while and calm the fires around the team, sacking Herzler for the time being. Brentford are a team fighting for a spot in Europe at the moment, so it's a good win for the Albion. And yeah, if it's bad vibes around, they still get the win. Can't complain too much about that.
And our next match had Chelsea not able to close the deal as they draw with Burnley 1-1.
The Blues were in complete control of this game after João Pedro scored in the 4th minute. But for all the control it felt like they had in the game, they never were able to find the second goal to pad the lead in the second. And in the 72nd minute, Fofana is sent off for a second yellow, and it allowed Burnley to believe that they had a chance, and they made Chelsea pay in stoppage time with an equalizer. Chelsea won, Burnley won.
And then Saturday continued with a couple of quietly impressive teams right now. West Ham and Bournemouth drawing 0-0, and that makes just one loss between both teams in their last 12 combined.
This was one of the more fun to watch 0-0s, if you want to put it that way. If you watch back some of the chances both teams had, it's actually pretty freaking crazy this ended without a goal. Somerville and Ryan, but he's British. He's Brazilian, so he's Hyen, I guess you call it. Hyen. They were the standouts on both sides, and it was actually a pretty good game to watch if you take into account that there was no goals. I mean, that's hard to say.
And Saturday ended with your No Business Soccer podcast top matchup. That was Man City and Newcastle. We already talked about that. So we move on to Sunday. And it started with Liverpool remembering what a winning streak feels like as they get a 1-0 win over Nottingham Forest.
Liverpool leave it at the death, but they get it done. If it's a performance you're looking for, don't look here. But if you just want the result, then you get it. And McAllister gave it to them deep into stoppage time, which maybe he should have had 2 goals, Vic. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it was off his elbow. I understand, but
fine.
Yeah, it happens. That was it. Sunday continued.
I didn't know, unless you want to talk about it more.
No, I didn't. I just thought you had more to say. I just didn't know. You're good.
There's not a lot to talk about in this game.
Not a lot at all. Sunday continued with Crystal Palace sending Wolverhampton back on the L train with a 1-0 win.
Not the most fun you'll have watching a game all season, but what game in the Prem really is. There's a lot of set pieces and corners and all kinds of crazy stuff going on. But the win does take Palace out of the relegation race for the moment as they're 10 points clear of West Ham. Wolves, though, they lose by 1 goal, but had a penalty saved in the first half. They lose the opportunity for a valuable point, and it's Palace getting the win.
Another pour here. Next up was Fulham, able to leapfrog Sunderland to 10th with a 3-1 win.
We were wondering how the Black Cats would respond to their first loss in the Stadium of Light, and they respond with another loss. Sunderland have been a cool story all season, but the reality is that they have now lost 4 of their last 5 in the Prem and aren't worried about relegation just yet, but they just don't look like even a mid-table right now. And I just realized you just said Sunderland. Like there's no Mexicanism at all.
So everything I was going to bring this up right now too. Everything that I could have thought of had to do with the stuff that's happening in Mexico. So I just left it alone for a week.
You're like, okay, fair enough.
Thoughts and everything with everybody in Mexico going through some shit right now. So I just left it alone for this week.
Yeah. And hey, PSA, if you are an American and you're like reaching out to people in Mexico to be like, hey, I'm supposed to be going to my all-inclusive resort in Vallarta. Is it still cool? Don't stop. They're going through a war right now. Don't worry about your vacation. Chill. Anyway, I've seen that piss me off. Like in the comments, like, is it still gonna be safe next week? They're trying to survive a cartel like revolution, and you're asking if your $2,000 vacation.
My ties.
Golly. Anyway,
so that's why I kind of left it alone this week.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but
we're going to move on to the next one though. So we can just move on.
We definitely moved on. Sunday ended with confirmation why this wasn't made a top match of the week as Arsenal get a dominant 4-1 win against Tottenham.
Yeah, I had a feeling that I predicted that we would probably lose 3-1. I'm a Spurs fan. And I was wrong at how bad our team would be. So, all things considered, Arsenal whooped that ass is the best way to put it. It was Tudor's first game in charge for Spurs. I think the hope or the romantic optimism was that the new manager bounce would help Spurs power through for a point. That was really all that we could hope for. But the reality is Arsenal are too deep and too good, while Spurs had only 11 fit first team players. And they had to cope with all the new coach and everything going on. The good thing is they did have a go at Arsenal. They didn't lose for a lack of trying. They didn't just sit back and soak up pressure the way that Frank had them set up, and they still lost 4-1. They actually went at them, and they were going toe-to-toe. And there's a stupid called off goal for Kolomwani's second goal that it wasn't a second goal because they called it off. But either way, I mean, it might have been closer, but either way, Arsenal were the better team. I can see life slowly coming back into the Spurs side, though. So that's the hope. But either way, Arsenal keep up their lead, and we didn't do our part. Everybody's going for us. We didn't do our part.
Would have been great. But Oh, well. But we'll move on. And your match day 27 ended with Monday Night Football as Everton get another Monday Night L, this time at the hands of Manchester United, 1-0.
I mean, the way that you said Monday Night L is just like the most disrespectful you could have said it. I don't know why. It felt extra disrespectful. Either way.
I wrote it like that too.
It wasn't a classic game, but Everton continue to drop points at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. The goal from United definitely giving some United fans boners because Mbemo, he makes a long break and he cuts back to pass to Šeško, and United is rolling. And you want to see it with your new players. I mean, they're just pretty good right now, which is not cool for teams that are sucking. So anyway, I'm done talking about the Prem.
That is all for Premier League Match Day 27. Let's go ahead and take a look at the table. Don't need too much of a refresher on top. I always say that big. Of course, Arsenal are still your number ones. They have 61 points. They are 5 points clear of your number twos, Manchester City, with 56 points. Aston Villa are still quietly in the number 3 spot. Nobody's really talking about them. They have 51 points, followed by Manchester United with 48 points, rounding out our top 4. And then tickling our top 4 is Chelsea with 45 points. They're in the number 5 spot. They are tied with Liverpool. Liverpool still on the outside looking in with 45 points as well. Of course, they are above them on goal differential. Let's go ahead and take a look at the bottom of the table. This is where it gets a little fun here. West Ham United in the number 18 spot. They have 25 points, only 1 loss in the last 6. So doing their part to stay out of the relegation zone or climb out of the relegation zone. They are followed by Burnley with 19 points in the 19th spot. And then also Wolverhampton Wanderers in the double digits. We applaud you for that. But yeah, you're not going anywhere. 10 measly points and doing their best to stay a solid foundation for the Premier League table. Good on you, mates. And then we'll see a little relegation scrap there. 4 points between Tottenham and West Ham.
Yeah, it's not fun. Not fun.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about it before we jumped on that they had.
Yeah.
There's a couple of chances. I think they still play Wolves and they still play. Who was it? West Ham, maybe. I can't remember. Mm-hmm. But there's still some games with teams at the bottom of the table for Spurs to get some points. And man. Yeah, it's not fun. You know, it's not fun. I know how Danny P felt a couple of seasons in a row.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we were giving him so much crap for last season. Everton.
And you know what? It's not a laughing matter. Okay. It's just not. So it's not fun.
I will say, no biz fam, there is a chance that if this goes down the wire,
of course,
Snooze doesn't want to bring this up. We were talking about it before. Snooze and Danny P's team, Tottenham and Everton, play each other match day 38 of 38. So there's a chance if things play out right and Everton beat Tottenham at the end that they
get relegated.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, that won't be fun. And just to call out, we do have a slew of second leg European fixtures. We're not going to go all of them because we're already hitting an hour, but we will cover all of the action that will be taking place this midweek. So make sure you tune in because, of course, we have Bodo Glimt taking a 3-1 goal advantage into the second leg of that one. I mean, that one's going to be awesome. We have some good matchups going on, but we'll cover all that coming this Thursday whenever we do our European look ahead and, of course, our recap. And we'll actually, I don't know when the draw is. I think it's on Friday, but either way, we'll know the next matchups in the round of 16 coming as well. So, with that, DJ, play our music. Vic, take us home.
Everyone, thank you for spending some time with us and talking about some European football. Be sure to like and subscribe on all of our social medias. Everything is at No Business Soccer Podcast, except for TikTok, except for Twitter. That is at No Biz Soc Pod because those names were way too damn long. Everyone, enjoy this midweek. We are going to talk to you very soon about the next match days to come. Cheers.